Hey y'all, and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions are like different names for the same value. So the same way as my real name is Adam Shepherd, some people might call me Adam, some people might call me Mr. Shepherd, some people get lazier than that and they just say Shepherd. All of those are still they're still talking about me. I haven't changed, even though the name they're calling me by is different. So an equivalent fraction is like calling the same value by a different name. It's still equal, it's still the same, it just has a different name. Let's look at a picture to help us understand that. So if I have, for example, right here, I've got a common fraction, which would be 1 part shaded out of 2. This is 1/2. But I could also keep splitting this up. If I split this up again, now I've got 2 parts shaded out of a possible 4. I've got 2 parts out of 4. 2 parts are shaded out of a possible 1, 2, 3, 4. Since I didn't add any more shading, I know it still has the same value. That means that 1/2 is equal to 2/4. It's the same as 2/4. Let's look at one more example like that. So, what if instead I had something that looks like this? And again, I'm going to shade 1/2 of it. So I've shaded 1 part out of 2. This is 1 part shaded out of 2 parts that would make the whole. If I decide to split this up, I can say now, let's split it up some more. Now I've split it up into a total of 6 parts. So now I've got 3 parts shaded out of 6. Because I didn't change how much I have shaded, I just changed how I split them up. I still have the same value. It still has the same worth. So that means that 1/2 is equal to 3/6. That's an equivalent fraction. Let's show how we can find some equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions are really easy to find as long as we remember that the equal sign is like a balance. So if you stand on one foot and you balance one way or the other, as long as I do the exact same thing on one side as I do to the other, it's going to be okay. If I have both of these pens in one side, I'm going to tip over there. But if I balance them out, I'm going to be at the same. So an equivalent fraction means we have to do the same thing on the top of the equal sign as I do on the bottom. If I wanted to change the number 2/4 into something different, if I wanted to change this, instead of having fourths, I wanted to call it by a different name, and I wanted to change this into, let's go with 12ths. All I have to do is I have to figure out what could I do to this 4 to make it into a 12? Well, I could try to add some things, but adding doesn't work for my fractions. I can only multiply or divide. Do you think we should divide something by 4 to give us 12, or we should multiply something by 4 to give us 12? I think we should multiply, so let's see how that looks. If I multiply that 4 times a 3, I'm going to get 12. 4 times 3 gives us 12. In order to keep them equal, I have to do the same thing on the top. 2 times 3 gives us 6. So that means that 2/4 is the same thing as 6/12. All right, all I did is I said, what can I do to this 4 to make it into a 12? I can multiply by 3. If I can multiply by 3 on the bottom, then in order to keep them equal, because they're equivalent fractions, I have to multiply by 3 on the top. I'm going to give you one to try. So let's try this one. Let's say I have now 1/5, and I'd like to change that into how many tenths. I'd like to know how many tenths is the same value as 1/5. Go ahead and pause the video and see what you can do to this 5 to make it into a 10. Then do the same thing on the top. Okay, when I look and I want to change 5 into 10, I say 5 times 2 would give us 10. So if I did times 2 on the bottom, in order to keep them equal, to make them equivalent fractions, I have to do times 2 on the top. 1 times 2 gives me 2 tenths. That means that 1/5 is equal to 2 tenths. Let's try another one. 2/3, okay? Now for 2/3, what if I wanted to change this one? Let's go to a really big number now. Let's go with 30ths. I want to change these into 30ths. How many 30ths is the same amount as 2/3? Pause the video and see if you can figure it out. Okay, so in order to figure this out, I have to look at the 3 and see what can I multiply by to give me 30. Well, 3 times, if I multiply 3 times 10, it will give me 30. In order to keep these equal, I have to do the same thing on the top. 2 times 10 will give us 20. So that means then that 2/3 is the same thing as 20 30ths. I hope this helped, and I hope to see you again soon.